So we're going to be taking a look at the policy. So I know the usual thing with why so many Christians and stuff we're going to vote for the Trump guy because he wants to support Israel and whatnot. And the problem is and I warned about this. He wants to bring back his original plan of the two-state solution. And of course, as we know, you divide the land of Israel, you be cursed. Those who curse Israel shall be cursed, according to Genesis. And he wants to bring it back. So it says Trump officials suggest 2020 Israeli Palestinian peace plan will be back in play. This is Jerusalem Post. Yes, Jerusalem Post from November 7th. So just 2 days ago. Says the Israeli-Palestinian peace plan advanced by President-elect Donald Trump during his first term will likely be back on the table when he returns to office, according to a former senior aide who reportedly has been tapped to help lead the transition team. And it's confirmed that he has indeed been tapped for such dealings. The Trump peace plan envisioned Israel being able to annex all the settlements in the West Bank while granting the Palestinians a pathway to a semi-contiguous state on the remaining territory. The plan was swiftly rejected by the Palestinian Authority, while Bibi Netanyahu welcomed the plan with reservations. His settler allies, who are now part of this coalition, rejected the proposal due to its inclusion of the potential Palestinian state. Not potential, that's what the deal is we will separate, we will divide this land and give it to the enemy. In an interview with CNN, Brian Hook, who's the guy with the transition team, he was indeed tapped by Donald Trump, and this Hook guy is as deep state as they come. Just tack it on to the usual thing of Phil the Swamp, who served as Trump's special envoy for Iran, is asked to respond to an assertion by Saudi Arabia's foreign minister that normalization with Israel is off the table without the establishment of the Palestinian state. So, of course, something that we've been following is in order to get Saudi Arabia really on board with all this stuff, with like the Abraham Accords and whatnot, it requires giving land to the Palestinians. And I have the idea, I'm not a prophet, I'm not a fortune teller, I don't do any of that stuff, but something that I believe is going to happen during this administration is we're going to be given the false light of Trump giving support to Israel, when in fact he's going to go ahead and see if he can try and do something like this in order to expand upon his Abraham Accords. I believe that's one of the major plans when it comes to Trump, is he wants to expand upon the Abraham Accords. Highlighting the 2020 peace plan, Hook tells CNN much of the work is still relevant today, adding that the proposal contains all of the conditions Riyadh is seeking in order to normalize with Israel. However, Hook acknowledges that no one is in much of a mood to discuss a two-state solution following Hamas's October 7th onslaught. There are many Israelis right now who are focused on other things, specifically keeping them safe from this kind of evil terrorism that endured on October 7th. Citing three sources familiar to the matter, CNN reported yesterday that Hook will lead Trump's transition team at the State Department. So this is one of the things that I was talking about that people just really did not seem to want to believe when it came to this, is the false light idea of supporting Israel and keeping them together, which I didn't see it happening. I believe that he was indeed going to do that, because everybody said, he came out and said, oh, he's not for the two-state solution anymore, which was false. People took his words and twisted them. He came out and said he's not sure if it will work right now. That's not saying he's not for it. That says he's just not sure. And the problem is now that he's back, he's immediately come out and said, I want to do this again. I want to split the nation of Israel. And I said, he does not check the box of supporting Israel. And we're seeing it right here. So he is indeed for the division of Israel's land and splitting and stuff like that. And the thing that I've talked about with this is that we're going to see heavily is he's bringing a false light. everything, not, I wouldn't say everything, but there's going to be a lot of things that he's going to do that on the outside, if you're not willing to look behind, look under the sugary coating of it, is going to look grand. It's going to look great. It's going to look wonderful for those who support him. But just like he did in 2016, if you dig below that sugary center, you will find a rotten core, and there's going to be something devious behind it. And in the case of what's going on with Middle East, the sugary coating is he's going to give Israel everything they want. He's going to, we've seen stuff out there saying, I want this ordeal finished by the time, was it January 20th? I think that he wants it all done with the things going on over there. But for that moment in time, he wants to support them as much as he can. And so everybody thinks that Donald Trump supports Israel. But I look at it as the way of, I don't think Donald Trump supports Israel, but I also don't think Donald Trump's against Israel. I believe that Donald Trump and Israel are on the same script that they have been given by the Luciferians for this. Remember, I have talked about how Israel is very much a part of the coming World War III that's coming. They've been a main part of the Freemason agenda when it comes to these wars that has to do with kicking off World War III. They were the main proponent, or one of the main proponents, for World War I. They were one of the main proponents for World War II, and they are going to be the powder keg, them versus the Islamic Brotherhood, to kick off World War III. And so they have been given the same script in order to accomplish the same goals. So this idea of support is not there. It's not what people think it is. The idea of him being against Israel is not there either. I think the problem is we continue to try and split it and look at these as spectrums rather than realizing that it's in the middle. We always go to the extreme of these spectrums when it's usually not the case. It's usually not the case. And so this is one of those things that I talked about. This is that deception that's coming in. Matthew 24, do not be deceived. And again, I just don't think we truly understand the depths of the deception when it comes to this. And one of the things that I get asked all the time, and so I just want to kind of reiterate this, I've talked about it in the past before, is this idea of, because of what I talk about when it comes to these leaders and politicians and stuff like that, that all of a sudden that God can't use them in some type of way. The problem with that is all throughout history, and that includes the scriptures that were told in the Bible, God uses evil men to fulfill his prophecies, to fulfill the promises that he has made. And this idea that God can't use these people, it's like, well, God is using Trump. For some reason, people want to throw that on me, saying that because I'm exposing what's going on behind Trump, that I'm saying that God can't use him. No, he used him in 2016, and he's going to use him again right now. But at the same time, God used Biden. God used Obama. God used Bush. God used Clinton. God used all these people in order to get to the point of where we're at now, to fulfill prophecy. You can't have it both ways and go, well, God can use this guy, but he can't use the other one. No, he uses all of them. And so it's the same thing. Like, people don't want to have the idea of God can't use. This is just one of those things that I really wish people would grasp, because this is so important, is like the creation of the state of Israel. We read in prophecy, what is it? Isaiah 66, I believe, that Israel was going to become a nation again overnight, be birthed again in one night or in one day. And it happened in 1948. But the thing is people want to look at that and go, see, God did that. But when you go into the history of who was behind it, the Rothschild family, the Freemason organization, the Luciferians, these people were actually the ones leading to the creation of the state of Israel. And the moment you say that, you go, no, because God can't use those people. Yes, he can. And he has. God said it was going to happen. He never said who he was going to use to accomplish that goal. And so again, that creation in 1948 had to do with the setup of Albert Pike's 3 World Wars, the Freemason plan for these 3 World Wars. In order to do it, God uses evil men for his good, for our good, for his glory. He uses these people. And this idea that just because you're exposing them, or they just may be too evil, God can't use them, that's just false. It's flat out false. And this is exactly how things progress. Especially in these times, you think that God's not going to use evil men in this time when now is the time for evil to flourish? That's an interesting take. No, I think he's just going to continue. God's going to continue to use the people that he's going to use to do these things. And remember, prophecy has already been fulfilled for God. He has already seen what is going to take place. He sits above time. Sometimes our minds can't comprehend that, and we think that prophecy is a foretelling future event that hasn't happened yet. Well, for us, it hasn't, but for God, it's already happened. That's why he's able to tell us what's going to happen, and he uses evil men to accomplish these goals. So depending on what's coming, we're not sure how things are going to unfold or whatnot, but I have an idea, I have a belief that Trump is going to bring about maybe a false peace, a stabilization that's not going to be real. It's all going to be scripted. And so this idea that he supports Israel, I don't believe is true. But I also don't believe that he's against Israel either. I believe that they're just reading from the same script to accomplish the goals that have been planned. And something that I've talked about, and I talked to my dad about this. I said, up until this point, there's always been, we got to go, the Luciferians, the table, they're sitting there. We got to go with this plan. We got to go with this plan. We got this option. We got this option. And everything so far has aligned. The financial system has aligned how they need it. Trump getting involved has aligned exactly as they needed it. And everything that's going on in the Middle East has aligned everything how they needed it. And so when Trump got in, when he was selected and going to be installed, their entire playbook has been opened. Every option that they have available is now on the table to get these things done. And it requires, in my opinion, those three things to do it. And all three are set in place now to do it. And this thing of I get comments all the time, even the videos that I posted. So you're saying that, you'd rather have Kamala in there? No. But my whole point of all this is there was no choice. They had their guy. He was going in, period. That's just how it goes. And Trump was their guy. They spent so much time, so many resources in order to get this asset in place. He is the biggest asset, the biggest weapon that they have, because he's going to be able to come in, do their agenda under a false light, and all of the people that they have been programmed to follow this guy no matter what are going to go right along with it. I just saw the thing recently where he came out and said that he was going to possibly enact an order, a national emergency order, in order to put military on the streets to wipe out the illegals. Something that I've talked about a lot is I think he's going to come in and he's going to become that dictator, and he's going to use the excuse of cleaning out the deep state and the illegals in order to get the military on the streets. And so far, it's looking like that's going to happen. Again, we don't know what's going to happen, but that's something that I've talked about. And so it seems to be going in that direction. Keep in mind, as I said, you had the Supreme Court ruling that basically makes the president a dictator as long as it's under presidential work, under presidential, of course, words out of my mind. Can't think of the word. Policy agenda. That's not the words I'm looking for, but as long as it falls under the instruction of the president, of course, the one word that I need, I can't think of. But as long as it as long as it falls under that, then he can do whatever he wants. He wants to grant federal immunity to police officers, plus the DOD directive to bring military onto the streets to use force, lethal force against citizens with the help of police. And now he's talking about in a national emergency in order to do such a thing. So things seem to be lining up for that. I'm not saying that it's going to happen that way. It's just something that I've been looking at. So again, we're in a time now where the false light is going to be a big problem. And we're going to continue to see Christians and churches, as well as the secular world, support what Trump is doing because they have been programmed. They have been swayed in that direction to do it. I talked about how, you make the left platform so extreme, you put in the two biggest dimwits that you possibly can, because you're not trying to get people to go with them. You're not trying to get people to follow them. You're trying to herd people towards Trump. Then you throw in the lawfare, the assassination attempt, quote unquote, assassination attempt. You throw these things in there and people will naturally progress and they will have a hardened wall for any criticism towards their guy. And so they have herded, just like the Hegelian dialectic works, they have herded society to follow this man, and they're going to give any excuse possible. And that includes if he does something like this. Again, we don't know what the future holds, but a lot of things are lining up in that direction. So we'll see what happens.